Welcome everybody to Brand U at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. I'm Craig Ingstrom. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies here in the program. And today we have a really special treat. We have Michael from LockedIn, who runs a YouTube channel geared at cyclists. He also is part of a three-party stream that happens pretty much once a week on Alternative Cycling Network. It's what is called ACN. So he's got a lot of experience with YouTubing, and we really wanted to invite somebody that could talk a little bit more about the technical things that we're doing here, and what students can do more technically if they want to be creators. And also with us, we have Janine Armstrong, who is a graduate student in the program, and she's just here really to help kind of moderate some things as well as ask the first question so we can get that going. But Michael, this is really all about you. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I mean, the world's a crazy place, and we're just trying to make apparently a lot of cool content to watch to meet fill up the time while we're all stuck more at home these days. So.
Yeah, YouTube's really blowing up though, right? I mean, people
have
seen their channels grow during the pandemic. So one little bright side of a
sure, yeah. The one upside to the whole nationwide pandemic is YouTube's getting some more views. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you go to who you know. So I'm a cyclist, and so I watch a lot of YouTube channels. And last year we had Russ from Pathless Pedal join us, and now we have you, and it's just really about who you know to get on there. But I think what this is really about is you talking a little bit about your channel and how it's growing, how you got started, where you're doing it from, how you're doing it, and all those things. So I'm just gonna let you go ahead and start telling us those things.
Cool. So I'm trying to make this as official as possible and made a little PowerPoint. So I'm gonna go over in this first part of this is a little bit about the history of my channel and how YouTube really was in the beginning to where it is now. I've had to rebrand, as well as going over just the technical aspect of the actual equipment that I use to film it and the exact camera kind of setup, and kind of letting you into the studio, which is my studio apartment that I live in. So I'm basically going to get started with the history of it. My channel used to actually be called Mike's Bikes. That was how I initially started it. I started making random videos with an old flip cam from back in the day, and I just did it as a creative outlet during college, just to have something to do. I then kind of progressed, eventually really liked doing it, and kind of learned how to do the editing process from one of my close personal friends at the time, who was going actually to college for editing and is still a video editor. And so learning how to actually edit originally in Final Cut Pro and then Adobe Premiere from him got me the interest into basically stepping up my video equipment game and starting to do, more serious YouTube videos. And so this is a little shot of my old logo, this old intro I used to have, and some of the old videos I have that have done really well on the channel that have been there for a long time. I essentially bought a Canon T2i, which was like the first kind of DSLR that had HD video quality. And this is, 10 or 11-ish years ago. And at the time, HD content was very rare. And that was something that I really wanted to get into to kind of separate myself, as well as I was somebody who was a college student that didn't make a lot of money. So I couldn't afford to go have a ton of stuff done to my bike to fix it. So I bought a set of tools and was just like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do, my basic repairs. And during that process, obviously nowadays you just say, oh, go YouTube it. Well, back then it was a lot slimmer of things to watch. And a lot of the videos were just really boring back in the day. They were your guy that would just set up his camera, at the end of the garage and film himself. And it would be a 40-minute video of him swapping out your pedals, which should take 30 seconds. And so after kind of getting annoyed with it and learning more things, I was like, okay, well, I can do this kind of format, but in a more concise way, in high def, better shots, close-ups, things like that, to basically get the point across in the least amount of time so that you can be, efficiently learning something or showing off stuff like that. And so that's really where the channel started. I grew it with the Mike's Bikes tag name to about 16,000 subscribers. And that, back in the day, I was only doing maybe 2 videos a month and getting pretty good regular viewage, especially for the time frame. And when I finally released my How to Paint Your Bike Part 1 and Part 2 that you can see here and here, I released those videos, and this is pre-YouTube actually paying anyone to make video content. They actually contacted me and said, hey, we're starting this thing called the Partner Program. Would you be interested in monetizing this video? Not the channel, not all my videos, just this video specifically, because it had received, I believe, about 5,000 views within a week or so. And for YouTube, especially back then, that was a pretty good return on any kind of video, especially from a small no-name channel like mine was. And they basically gave me a list of what you get now of how to monetize. It means no copyrighted music, things like that. So I said, yes, awesome. I'd love to make some money doing this. And every single video I uploaded from that point on, I had to essentially submit for them to manually monetize. And so that is something that was originally created when I was kind of at the beginning of this. The channel was doing pretty well. I wasn't taking it super seriously. And then I unfortunately had to rebrand because there is a small bike shop named Mike's Bikes that eventually started a YouTube channel. I was unaware of them. They have, I believe, 6 stores total in the nation, and basically sent me a cease and desist. So YouTube wanted to kill my channel. I'd reached out to them and basically told them, like, hey, I'd love to work with you. I was unaware of this. I have 16,000 subscribers in this small growing community, and your channel has like 300 and you have like 1 video. So can we work together, co-brand, basically something that now is so seemingly obvious. But back then this was, oh, why would I want to promote on YouTube? That was not a thing like it is now. They were very uninterested and said no. I had them reach out to YouTube and say, tell them that we're going to work together and figure something out, to where I rebranded and had to re-upload all the videos that I had done at that point and remove my intros and outros saying Mike's Bikes. And then I could change it to the name of LockedIn, which is kind of a play on clipping into your bike or pedaling, and had to rebrand everything from the ground up. And that definitely was a big struggle because, I'm starting from scratch, and Mike's Bikes was so catchy and easy to remember. A lot of people just could remember to search it. So I did have to go through that kind of phase for the channel. And then throughout the years, it was always something I did pretty regularly. I would take time off periodically and not make videos, let's say for, a summer or something. And I called it like my season break. But I've essentially been doing this, pretty regularly, almost weekly for the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, every other week at minimum, or every week. And then due to everything that's going on in the world, this is now my full-time gig. And so that is basically what's going to roll me into what I use. A lot of people think that you need this crazy allotment of camera equipment, but realistically, you can create anything. And I'm going to show you my studio setup very shortly. But this is essentially all that I use. And this is my main camera that I'm actually shooting this live stream with, that I'm using essentially as a webcam for better video quality, is the same camera that I use for when I do my pieces to camera, talking about a review or a bicycle or a story or anything like that. And that's the A6500. That's Sony's mirrorless camera. It's not their most expensive. There's definitely a lot nicer that they have, but this gets the job done, and it has certain features that are going to be great for if you are wanting to have one camera that has image stabilization and things like that, as well as replaceable lenses. So you can swap them out easily. There's definitely some pros and cons to this camera that I can get into in the questions and answers if you have specifically. My B camera is essentially an old A6500. Okay, and I guess someone wants to know the specs of the main camera. So the A6500, they started this series where the body's essentially the same from the A6000, but this is Sony's mirrorless camera. It does have their E-mount lens system. This does shoot in 4K at 30 frames per second. They do have lower resolutions where you can up the frame rate. So if you want to do like a slow-mo or anything like that, you can do down to 1080p. This does have image stabilization built into the body, meaning if you want to use an older vintage lens or just a prime lens or anything that's slightly more affordable, your lens does not have to have image stabilization, so that you can essentially save money doing that because it's built into the body. And so that's definitely a pro for me, because I do use it handheld quite a bit when shooting certain parts of my videos that, again, we'll get into in the last slide for this presentation. Then we go into my B camera, which is my A6000, which is essentially a really old version of this. It uses the same mounting system for the lens, so I can reuse all my lenses between the two cameras. This one only shoots in 1080p. I mainly use it for photography when I'm on the bike, but it works great as a B camera for when I want to film, let's say, the table that I'm actually have below here that my laptop is resting on, so I can shoot any product close-ups while doing that. Then I have my riding camera, essentially, because I looked for a long time of what to use for vlogs or something that would have great image stabilization for riding. And at the time, I picked up a DJI Osmo that does shoot 4K up to 30 frames, up to 60 frames. And you can go higher frame rate in the lower resolutions. But I love that camera because essentially what they did is they took the gimbal or head off of their DJI drones, which are very stable, and put it onto a really lightweight, convenient stick style package. So I use that for riding shots, as well as that's a great camera to give to friends because since it has a gimbal, no matter how they're moving their hands around, the shot is very, very stable. So it's very easy if you do need to, ask for a friend's help to get a couple of shots. Then my POV camera is actually an old GoPro Hero. I'd love to get a new one, but this is I think it's a Hero 3. So that essentially I just put on a bite mount that I can put in my mouth because I don't like carrying the big, bulky chest mount for riding shots. So I use that and a mouthpiece bite that you use for like swimming to do those kind of shots so that if my head moves, the camera moves with it. It's a little bit more dynamic. And then lastly, I have how I record audio, which is obviously this is mic'd in because I'm doing a live stream. But if I'm recording myself, I have a Zoom H1 audio recorder. You can use the built-in mic or plug in a lavalier mic, which is typically what I do for my videos now, so that if something does get in front of my face or my hands where I used to have the microphone kind of off camera, like this setup, the audio would kind of, obviously be affected because of that. So having a lav mic is really nice, as well as I have started doing videos in my patio or outside and still getting that great audio quality, not having to do a voiceover after is very convenient. Okay, let's see. Wait, it is. Questions. Yeah, so it is the main camera I'm using that you're seeing this on is the A6500. My B camera, which you're gonna see, is this camera here with the strap on it. This one is an A5000. So that is a secondary camera I use. They just happen to use the same lens system. So and batteries as well. Graphics card. That is something I actually don't remember what's currently in my PC. But I have a desktop computer that I do edit on that I built myself. Basically, if you want something turnkey for most video editors, the easiest thing that I tell people is like get a decent gaming setup, and it's going to handle your video production pretty well because obviously you're going to need a lot of RAM and a decent graphics card to do the video editing process. The graphics card is really going to be helpful in the rendering time. You can do it with an okay graphics card. Your playback might be slower. You might have to pre-render some stuff. But if you have a decent graphics card, it is going to help on the rendering once you're done with the episode, as well of exporting it as the final style of clip. And then next we have here my studio. So this is the glitz and the glam of the full-time YouTuber space. This is my studio apartment. This is literally the whole thing. On the left there, that's my pantry and my kitchen. I am currently sitting in the couch that's below the bicycle with all the cycling hats that you're seeing right here. And then this right there, that's my bed. And then at the end there's my curtain and my front door. So that's realistically how big my space is. And do I have to get creative on how I shoot this kind of stuff? Totally. But it's something that, again, how I'm shooting this, a lot of people, whenever I do Zooms or consultations that I do offer for my Patreon supporters, they're really shocked that this is literally where this is not a separate room or a studio space or, an office or anything that I have. It is literally my living room. And again, to draw the curtain away, this is literally what it looks like doing this live stream right now. This is essentially what I have. I don't have a table in my place because I have obviously an island for my kitchen. So I have a piece of wood with some linoleum on the top that's white. I put it between two of my chairs for a table surface for, again, my B-roll shots of product showing. And then because I want my laptop closer to where my camera lens is, I put it on a box I got from the 99-cent store. And a couple of adapters later, here we are. And this is the end result that you can get. Again, trying to be a little creative, and working with what you have. This could be totally done on an iPhone, and actually that does look even better than what my webcam currently in my old MacBook that I'm using right now as a monitor. It looks better than that camera does. So again, you don't have to have fancy DSLRs and plug in with conversion boxes and everything to get a decent amount of decent quality of content or live stream. But obviously, this is something I do regularly, so it's something that was worth investing into. Oh, awesome! I'm glad I'm now give some ideas. Again, tearing away the curtain. And lastly here, I wanted to basically have a video that I wanted to show off that essentially is a culmination of all the shots that we've been talking about in equipment. So I'm going to let this kind of play in the background. So that's me. That's me talking to the camera. And all these shots are done with, again, the equipment that was shown. So this is the end result of essentially when I shoot myself. So I do have my H1 Zoom mic that I have, a lavalier mic that is clipped on my t-shirt that I have obviously off camera. All the beauty shots you're going to be seeing here for the detail pieces are going to be with my A6500. We can get into, again, more camera specs, but this is predominantly shot on my 30 millimeter Sigma lens, which is a prime lens. And this is where I'm talking about the specs of the bike. So I'm obviously showing off details. I'm mentioning certain components. So I make sure to get, shots for each component of the bike that I'm going to be mentioning later down the line, to basically show off, the beauty shots of the entire bike. Then it's going to get into, different shots that I've shot with different equipment of how to show off, my review of this product. The reason why I'm showing a bicycle here is because it is the hardest reviews and most time consuming that I do, and basically has to use my entire gamut of equipment to effectively show off a high quality review, in my opinion, for something that is complex. A bicycle is not a part or a product that you're going to, simply just use in one aspect. It's obviously multifaceted. So that's where, I try to use all of my equipment to show those components off effectively so that you understand, what you're buying, because obviously this is a more dramatic purchase. And for most people, this bike being very affordable for the category is still $899, and that's still a decent amount of money, obviously. So it is something that I try to get across of what you're getting into, the pros and the cons for it. So these shots here, these are actually shot on my Osmo Pocket. I did reframe them and obviously edit them. This POV shot, again, is my old GoPro Hero that has like no image stabilization, but your body and your head is actually pretty good as a gimbal, so it does smooth it out. These shots, basically, because the Osmo, again, has that great gimbal head, I basically just gave it to my buddy and said, hey, we're just going to ride an area that's not super technical, obviously. And he just followed me, and I just told him, like, yeah, just record me as we ride. And I kind of coached him, and now he's been better about it. This is my GoPro mounted on my handlebar. I kind of have seen this shot done by Bike Radar and other video reviews. So, learning and watching different creators inspires you and gives you ideas like, oh, that's a good mounting spot that I would have never thought of. So these are essentially a mix of all my DJI Osmo shots, as well, either if I'm holding the camera, obviously for the close-ups while riding, or my friend is, and then anything that's mounted, hard mounted, or again, the POV shot is all done on my GoPro. And so this is kind of what you come up with. You basically always want to record way more content than you ever think you're going to. I tell people, if you're going to try to do a 10-minute video, you're going to at least need an hour of footage minimum to make that, look good and be interesting to watch, and not just one single shot. So I definitely overshoot so that when I'm talking about certain things, I have ideally some footage that will reference what I'm discussing. For bike wise, obviously, if it's braking, I want to have a shot of me doing a hard braking stop. If I'm talking about, how good the ride quality is, I want a shot of me going over some rough stuff. So slightly mapping those things out after doing it, or understanding what you want to do with your video content, no matter if it's bicycles, cars, or anything else, knowing kind of what you're going to talk about is going to help guide you in what information and things you need to film. So that is basically it. I am going to pause this, and I don't need my PowerPoint anymore, but that is something that, again, I've been doing this for a while. I've learned some things. YouTube has definitely dramatically changed since, again, me being pre-partner program to where it is now. as a platform. And again, something that now people just say, oh, just go YouTube it. And that's a thing. So yeah.
Great. Thank you for that awesome presentation. And, most of the folks are in the chat, and we encourage you to, drop us questions so that Michael can answer all of them. There's some that have already been posted that I'll bring to the screen here momentarily. But, just so for some consistency, since we've been using Zoom throughout the day and folks have been able to ask questions like on screen, I thought I would allow Janine to ask a question here with us. So we have Janine. Janine is a graduate student in our program. So, what's your question, Janine?
Hi, Michael. Thank you for the information. It was just very, very helpful. I never knew that you could just create your own YouTube channel in your hotel. Well, not hotel, your room like that. Like you are in between your bed and your kitchen. And
yeah, it's right here. Yeah.
I would just think
it looks like a hotel, right? I would say that. It's like this little mini hotel.
Yeah.
So my question is, when did you feel comfortable calling yourself a YouTuber, or do you still feel comfortable ever?
That is something that I've officially, because of everything going on, this is essentially my full-time gig. I am, looking for other work that does pay better. But currently, the only way I make income currently is through my YouTube videos and anyone who supports my channel, either with merch sales or via Patreon. That's how I'm making money currently. And so it's something that I think now, especially, people understand that YouTube can be a career. I am by no means a six-figure, maker on YouTube by any long shot. I'd love to be. So everyone, please go subscribe and watch all my videos 10 times in a row. But that is something that it's definitely more accepted now than it was before, because again, I've been kind of at the beginning of the paid process of this, to where, there's people who make crazy amounts of money on this, to where it is a actual, if you invest in are, not wasting your money properly, like you can definitely make a career out of this. And so now I think it's more acceptable because it's my only source of income. And somebody's like, oh, what are you doing? Instead of saying I'm unemployed, I can say, oh, I'm a YouTuber. So, it is definitely a notch up there, but it's something that, again, I think is more socially acceptable, because there are people, again, who are making more than my salary, sales rep pharmaceutical job I had before. And they could be making that kind of salary daily with some of the people that have the high end views. So I think that's something that, again, is more socially accepted now, to where I'm coming to more terms with it, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, great. Yeah, so everybody keep throwing your questions into the chat. I will get to them and throw them on screen so that Michael can answer your questions.
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Okay, so someone wanted to create great quality recordings of their voice purely for hobby recreational purposes. What hardware and software do you recommend? Okay, so this is definitely something that, again, I'm a big component of, I call it guerrilla style, which is like basically like run and gun. So work with what you got. My H1 Zoom recorder, which I don't have by hand, I thought I did, is a $99 audio recorder. And it sounds pretty good already. And you can make that thing sound amazing with some simple things that you can learn as far as trying to make your room sound better. So with this scenario, obviously with live streaming, I'm using this microphone because it's going to make me sound good, but it's very directional. So for me presenting or anything, it's, it's not the best, because obviously I'm constrained by this being in front of my face. But the Zoom H1 you can use in this style, as well as, again, clip in a lavalier mic. The beauty of that is, again, room tone for audio is very critical. So for that, I've literally done voiceover work that I thought sounded pretty good. All I literally did was I took two big, heavy blankets and essentially made like a fort over the couch that you've seen in my studio apartment, and put it over some chairs, and basically put the microphone very close to my face, turned off all my fans, all the AC and everything, and just recorded audio into the mic, and it deadened the sound to make it sound like I was in a sound booth. So again, you can get creative and have seemingly simple or more budget equipment look or sound better, understanding what you're trying to get across and learning from what you're watching. So if you watch videos on audio recording or anything, you're going to see them be in a soundproof booth with a very directional mic. So if you can create your own little pseudo booth, that's going to make your $100 recorder sound a lot better than $1,000 recorder that you do in an empty hallway. So that's something that you can definitely use the equipment to its fullest, learning the limitations of what makes or breaks audio or video presentation. All right, good. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. So the editing software that I use currently, I do use the full Adobe suite. Take advantage, everybody, while you're a student. If you're gonna get into the Creative Cloud suite from Adobe, get it while you're a student because it's way cheaper per month because essentially it's a subscription service now. So I use Premiere Pro to do all my video editing. I do use Lightroom for all the photos that I put out on Instagram. And then I do use Adobe Audition to slightly enhance the audio that I get out of the mic that I record. I have basically an EQ that I think sounds best with my voice, and I will modify and also increase or decrease the volume of the recording in Adobe Audition and then bring it into Premiere. But I used to use Final Cut 7. That was the best Final Cut, and then they went 10, and it just turned into a big iMovie. So Sandy, oh yeah, trust me, Sandy, I've tried to learn as many as I can because, again, you can make seemingly quality content with, whatever you have at home. You just want to learn how to maximize what you have equipment-wise, and that's going to really open up the boundaries of what you can shoot with.
Yeah, so we have a lot of students here that are probably interested in getting started in YouTubing, but are a little shy. So I have a question here related to that, and that is, what advice do you give for someone who has camera anxiety? You have such a good presence. How do you do it?
So that's honestly time. Live streaming has definitely opened up a different avenue of me having to kind of relearn things, because there's one shot I now think I should have put in the presentation of what my actual timeline on my Adobe Premiere setup looks like. I will do a segment of a video that's raw, uncut, 12 minutes, and I'll cut it down to like 6 or 7 because there's either that many screw ups in what I'm trying to say, or there's dead space or whatever. And I try to obviously shorten my videos, like I mentioned in the beginning, that for camera anxiety, you really just have to do it. This, to me, I try to treat it as I'm talking to a person, and that's really it. You want to come across that you're invested in what you're trying to talk about or sell or discuss. And so that's something that I've been in sales kind of all my life. I've worked at shops at a sales position. I've done other things. I've managed shops. My last job was I was a sales rep. So that is something that definitely has helped this. And after that, it's really just being okay with looking into a lens, knowing you're not talking to a physical person. I mean, that's really all that it is. Some people get really anxious about it, and I totally get that. But it's something that you just got to try. You just got to eventually, you'll kind of get over it. Some people really need to script things out. I usually just use like a light bullet point structure of what I need to get across for really important key points or facts or pricing for items. Those things that you can't really ad lib, those are things that I'm going to write down and make sure that I physically say. But besides that, I'd hope that it would come across as a communication you'd have with someone you're trying to learn something from. And that's essentially what I try to make all my videos about, of getting people excited and learning the nerdy technical side of cycling. I build series, I do DIYs. And so it's just me talking to somebody, getting them into the sport that I've been invested in for 10-ish years now.
Yeah, there's so many great channels out there, but you can find really high quality content, and I think finding like a niche, or like if you're a creator, is pretty important.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think for me personally, I spend a lot of time watching cycling YouTube channels, and yours is like one of the best ones that I find out there. I think it's very inclusive. You do a great job keeping people engaged. So I just want to give you that little shout out there.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. And I have a question here from Samuel Ramirez.
Would you recommend getting into video editing, and what software? Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that I was seeing if someone was going to ask this. So I got into video editing watching my friend learn how to edit. And throughout my career, like, my degree is in industrial design. I did that for a handful of years. but that skill set of learning how to shoot and edit my own videos has paid dividends along the way in my career path, that the weird way that it's gone. But learning any kind of skill, especially video editing nowadays, is a valued asset at most companies, because most companies are now, especially if they're older, now are really realizing the power of video content, either on their YouTube or if they're going to start an Instagram. So learning how to get into doing that, even the basics, like I use probably 2% of the capability of Premiere Pro, to be honest. Like my videos aren't crazy, intensive as far as the editing process. I don't do any crazy motion graphics with After Effects, and those are things I want to learn. But learning just core basics can really help, elevate you as a potential employee compared to somebody else, because there's going to be a time where they might not see it in that moment, but 6 months into the job, and you think this is a great opportunity, and and you're confident in your skill set and what you can do, you can be like, hey, let me show you kind of what I was talking about when I said, I can edit and video or do video stuff. And that's helped me with jobs. And again, even my last sales rep job, I had mentioned it that I had, proficiency in that. And a year and a half in, they shot a commercial for a drug that we sold that was awful. It was like a Zoom recording. It was supposed to go to all this, it was a very expensive drug. And I was just like, no, please give me the opportunity and a weekend to reshoot this with who we're having. Shot and edited it. The owner showed it at our national sales meeting. Everybody loved it. And he's like, yeah, normally we'd spend X amount of dollars. Michael did that in a weekend, And so it's something that you can always utilize those skills in any capacity, as an employee anywhere, no matter if it's in your job title or not. Thanks, DJ. Appreciate that. What would you estimate the total cost of equipment and software editing that you use? Okay, so this is tough because obviously, like cameras, there's always new ones coming out. So realistically, my auto recorder, the H1, I believe is $100 or around $100. You definitely need good audio. Decent video and good audio is better than good video and crappy audio. Camera-wise, again, you can film on anything. I could do this whole section on, especially the new iPhones, like the cameras in those are really good. And basically like this camera body that I'm using, the A6000 version, shoots the same 4K 30. It doesn't have image stabilization and a few frame rates that I like using, but you could get that. Those bodies are going to range in price. This one, I believe when I bought it for the body alone, I think was about $1,200. I didn't get it brand new. But again, for the uneducated, there's only certain scenarios where this is going to look substantially better than like another lower end camera. I wanted the stabilization because of the lenses that I had. Lenses, you're going to spend, if you don't get one with a kit lens, which again is totally fine to use, $200 or $300 for a lens. And again, I predominantly shoot with one. And then I have a little LED light that I use to light myself in these scenarios. That was like an Amazon special for like $20. And realistically, you can run from there. You don't even have to get this big, expensive camera body. If I had to choose one camera to use, I'd probably use my DJI Osmo, because I can set that up on a tripod. It still shoots 4K, and I could use that to film myself. And then again, having that gimbal is great for outdoor shots. So it really depends on what you're trying to shoot, on what you really, really need. And again, you might not need the current generation of whatever camera is. You just got to find out what is important to you. Image stabilization is very important to me because obviously I'm writing or I'm doing a lot of handheld shots. But if I was doing everything on a tripod, I would save the money and just get the first version of this so that I have the same image quality and not paying for all the extra add-ons. Have you had any issues with recent? So I haven't. That is something that I haven't come across. I started streaming when COVID hit because that's kind of what everybody did on YouTube. That was a big trend for, I'd say, the first month or two, was just trying to create content and have this discussion because we can't go outside and hang out with everybody else. So this was just a means of doing that. If you ever done so, what do you recommend for capturing video footage of an electric screen? So that is going to depend on the style of screen. Most of the time when you have that flickering effect that you're going to see with like LED lights, like on cars, it's going to be because of the frame rate or the shutter speed of your camera. So there are times, even with just fluorescent lights, if you turn the shutter speed to a certain point, you're going to see these like black bars kind of going through all your footage. So that's something that you're going to have to play with: frame rate, shutter speed, as well as for reflection wise, you can use different filters to help that, like a UV filter. So that's something that you're going to have to kind of, depends on the screen technology in which you're actually recording.
Yeah, I think that question might also, it's hard to say, but if it's something like how do you do like a screen recording, in some ways, kind of like what we're doing now in a sense,
Right.
like we're using StreamYard, but it might be something like Snagit or Camtasia or something like that might be,
Right. Yeah. So if I'm recording like me going onto a website, which I've only had to do a few times, I honestly just Google whatever is free and that I can do a screen capture with that works with the platform that I'm working with. If I'm recording like an app on my phone or showing off, like if I have a device that has Bluetooth connectivity and an app version of it, literally I am just taking my regular camera and filming it, and I'm just finding the right angle and lighting setup so where I don't have any crazy glare. But there's a lot of great other apps that you can download now that are either very cheap or free that you can plug your phone into and screen capture off the phone. So that's something that you just got to kind of look up what's out there, because again, those are going to be something that's ever changing throughout the years. Any advice on networking with other YouTubers to get in your name out there? So honestly, Mech Monkey, that is something that I've recently been doing a lot more of. Obviously, again, this is my full-time gig. I've been mainly reaching out to companies to try to initiate product, as well as offering this as an additional thing that they can do with me. But I know all my stats, and I know what my rough, monthly view time is, or watch time, unique views, as well as obviously my current subscriber count. So that's something I pitch, saying, hey, do you want to join me on, I'd love to review this product. If you would love to do a live stream with me, this is the kind of format. I'll send them an example video and a link to my channel to show them, if you want to talk directly to your potential customers, I'm offering you a platform to do that. As far as collaborating, like doing like video content like I did with Zach, honestly, that's just reaching out. That's just sending a simple message or a DM on Instagram, or if they have a work email, an email directly saying, hey, this is my idea, I'd love to work with you. And worst case scenario, they say no, or they don't answer, and you move on. You got to throw a lot of info and things out there to try to get. And hopefully at the end of the day, if you end up with 10% of yeses, hey, that's 10% more than you had at the beginning of the day. So that's kind of what you got to do. But obviously, if you're wanting to work with somebody who is either more established than you or less established, offer up an idea. Don't just say, hey, I'd love to collab. Thoughts? ? Give them something. Let them, inspire them, or give them an idea of like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, and this is my idea for a video. I'd love to work with you because you do this very well, or whatever. Give them kind of a rough idea so that they can get ideally excited about doing it. When I reached out to Zach to do a collaborative bike review, it was because we both had the same bike. I said, hey, I'm going to be in your area. Are you available this day to this day? Because he's in NorCal and I'm in SoCal. And I said, I'd love to shoot something with you because we've both had the same bike. I think people would love to see that if we can. And it worked. We basically met up, had lunch, kind of chit-chatted a little bit about what we wanted to do, filmed that video in a hotel room that I was staying in. And, I edited my video and he edited his, and it was fun. We hung out for the rest of the day. So knowing that time was constrained, obviously I would have loved to ride with him or whatever, but I didn't have my bike. I couldn't bring it. I had to fly out there, things like that. So we couldn't have done what I ideally wanted, but I made the best of it. Yeah, very welcome.
Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is the amount of time that goes into things like editing. So what would you say it takes you to do like a 10-minute video?
So bike reviews would be probably like the most time consuming, because I have to ride the bike to get an idea of like if I like it and why. I'll usually go out for the first day when it's brand new and go out for a short ride and then go shoot my beauty shots of it, like that you saw in the video that I played. And then subsequently over all of the next handful of rides that I'll have it, I'll do one thing per ride. So I'll do one ride where I'm just bringing my GoPro, so I can do all my POV stuff. And then I can do one ride with just my Osmo. And then I make sure that like a buddy of mine is with me for the next ride so that they can shoot me, with me riding the bike for dynamic shots. So all in considered, like filming time, I'd say, for a bike review or something substantial like that, 4 or 5 hours at least of just filming, or being outside and going somewhere or going to a cool area that looks good or whatever, making sure to ride at sunset so the lighting's nice. 5 to 7 hours, I could say. Then editing wise, physically doing my piece to camera for a 10-minute video, yeah, it might be a 15 or 20-minute raw clip. And I've learned some tips and tricks over the years of how to streamline that process and cut out a lot of stuff. But it really just depends. If I can nail it and just be in the zone, I could see a couple of hours to get all the talking section roughed in, cutting out what I don't like, moving things around. Because sometimes I'll film something and remember something I want to mention at the beginning of the video at the end of the video. So I'd say an hour to 2 hours to rough in the audio. Then I start basically importing all of my extra clips and adding them over areas that make sense of, if I'm talking about braking, I need to find that braking shot that I did and then pull that over. So all in, like a bike review video probably takes me, 10 hours. If you're including riding time, roughly. Some product videos are a lot easier, and I've learned how to streamline it. Again, having that B camera shoot like the product in my hands at the same time that I'm talking about it, essentially shooting all my beauty shots, my close-ups at the same time. So that streamlines that process. So trying to learn how to be more effective and time efficient now, because obviously I'm trying to pump out more volume, but trying to maintain the quality. Yeah, burnout is definitely a thing. Again, I used to take, time off. I used to have my seasons off or whatever, summers off, and I would film a lot during those, but I wouldn't feel anxious or tied to a schedule. To where what I then started doing is, again, learning how to be more efficient, is trying to shoot a lot of content and edit stuff in chunks. And so I'd have like a really, really solid, intense, busy week. But ideally at the end of that week, I'd have, at the time I was only doing a video a week. So if I could do 4 videos in 1 week, I'd essentially have next month off or done. So I would basically get really into it, do as much as I can, build out my schedule and schedule stuff accordingly. That way that if I needed a week or just felt like I didn't feel like editing or filming that day or wanted to go on a ride and not vlog it, like, I'm good. My content's created. So if I want to make extra stuff and I really like that ride and I feel like in the mood to do that, that's how I do it. So I try to basically, you work hard, just like you do at a normal job, and know that you have a vacation coming if you want it. That's kind of how I manage it. But definitely there are a lot of times when I go out riding where I'm just like, man, vlogging this whole ride or filming it is going to just be taxing. I just want to enjoy it. And then I won't do it. So now my kind of mantra is, if I've done the ride or vlogged it once, I'm not going to do it again, so I can enjoy it the second time around. Or if it's something new that I really want to enjoy the first time, to see, hey, is this trail, like, would this be a cool story? Is the views really nice or anything like that? I'll ride it, enjoy it for what it is. And then if I want to go do it again, okay, the nuance is gone. So now let's maybe make something out of it. But it's definitely something you have to find your level of motivation. For my, content that I make, like, getting cool new stuff to review is motivating for me to make something if I'm really excited about a product that's coming in.
Hey, time for a little promo of your stuff, right? Don't you have some merch you also sell?
Yeah, I do. I do have, hopefully it'll be in the description below when you're watching this, after this video is done, on the YouTube channel. But basically, yeah, I have a Facebook and Instagram. You can follow me. It's at LockedIn Show. And obviously, you can search me on YouTube. Again, hopefully the links for that will be in the description underneath this video. As well as I do have a Spreadshirt store. I have some merch on there. I have some T-shirts in basically cotton or regular style, as well as a moisture wicking version that's great for working out or going riding if you just want a casual T-shirt. My slogan that I put on there is slow but look pro, because my mantra is like, hey, I'm not the fastest guy out there, but if I'm going to be slow, I'm going to look real good doing it, making sure that, my kit looks nice. The bike is, in tip-top shape, and everything else is matching with the handlebar bags or whatever I'm running with. So again, I tell people, if I was fast, you wouldn't get to enjoy how good this looks as long. So I made merch to basically support that. So again, I have that. And I do have a cool metal coffee mug as well, or, obviously that can hold whatever adult beverages you'd like in it. And then I do have a Patreon to help support the channel. I do offer bike consultations on there, or anything cycling related, for 30 to 60 minutes for my top 2 supporters monthly. So if you want to discuss, your next bike purchase, or what maybe upgrades you want to talk about, or anything like that, I offer that one-on-one thing to be basically a unbiased opinion, and try to help you sort through the crazy mess that is the cycling world.
Yeah, definitely can get some good advice on what kind of bike to buy, and because you used to work in a shop, right? If I
Right,
recall.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a salesperson at multiple shops, and I did manage a shop for about a little over a year before my last job, which was, again, a pharmaceutical sales rep. So for music, I'm assuming is what they were referring to. I actually have a single ear, in-ear Bluetooth, it's essentially a Bluetooth headphone, but the microphone's not very good on it. I believe it's called a QCY Pro. It was an Amazon $20 special. I just wanted one that didn't have the dual Bluetooth things. So I found one that was a single-sided. So I use that just so that I can still hear, cars or somebody talking to me or anything like that. So I use that predominantly. I believe it lasts about 3 hours. So obviously, if a super, super long ride, it's not going to make it the whole way. But I wanted something that didn't have the lanyard style between the two, because obviously if I was riding with this, I would just pull one out and probably leave it, just so I can have some, I'd be able to hear what's going on around me still. I don't think anybody should ride with both headphones in.
Yeah, so just what I'm throwing on the screen here is like a place. So some students are here as part of a class. This is way more interesting than listening to a stuffy old professor talking about nonsense, right? I mean, we're talking
Sure.
YouTube here.
This is real life, people. This is yeah.
Definitely real life stuff here, Ed. So I just throwing that on there for them, just in case anybody comes along later and they're like, "What is this?" That link will no longer work. But the links that will work are in the description, and that's to LockedIn's store, where you can buy some really excellent merch. So I just want to remind you about that before we move on. So we are getting close to the end of the time frame that we have here. I just want to encourage, if there's any last minute questions, get those in the chat. Make sure that you feel like you've participated and got your questions answered. I would think, what was probably one of the most difficult things recently that you sort of experienced. Is YouTube changing the algorithm any? Is it hard to get things up? What kind of strategies work to get your videos noticed? Those kinds of things will probably be important for any student that's going to run out this weekend and start a channel.
Sure. I tell people this every single time they say, "Oh, I want to start a channel." Do it. That's what I just tell them. Just do it. But do it for the right reasons. You're going to realize very, very quickly that it has to be a passion project. I have done this for a long time. If I didn't have the rebrand that I had, I think I'd be a lot. This full-time thing would have been more actually sustainable, potentially years ago. But it's something you have to do for yourself. If you just want a creative outlet and you want to make something, or you think you're offering something great to the community that you're speaking to, do it. But realize this is not, the get rich quick, outlet or anything like that. Can your viral or video go viral? 100%. Is the likelihood that it's going to very high? No. So do this for you. If you want to do it for you, and just put something out there. Don't expect any kind of views. I put videos out that I think aren't going to do super well, and they do phenomenal. And then I'll do videos like, "Oh man, people are going to love this. Everyone's going to watch this," and it doesn't do so great. So learning that I do this for me. Obviously, it is now a source of income, so I'm doing more volume and trying to keep the quality up. But there's really no code to crack, unfortunately. You can watch hundreds of videos on the YouTube algorithm, and trust me, I've done it. There are things that I've learned that seem to help a little bit, but there's no this is always going to hit. This is always going to be a banger, and this is going to get 100,000 views every single time. You just don't know. You're going to find your kind of niche if you have videos that do well, because if it's the certain subject matter or style, start doing more videos in that style or about that subject matter. And that's something that you're going to learn as you go, but you're never going to find those things out if you just don't do it.
Yeah, I really encourage folks just to start out, see how it's going for you, figure out what seems to resonate with people. And I think Michael's given us a lot of really good, tips and advice. And he does a lot of these kind of Q&A sessions, at least more recently, on his channel. So, I'm a big fan of him continuing to do that. And I just wanted to say thanks for yesterday. I think it was yesterday's stream or maybe 2 days ago, where you gave a little shout out to us that you were doing this session.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
appreciate that.
everybody who wants to hear the history and the full setup, because I've never actually done like a real breakdown of how I film it.
Yeah, this is like
if I got comments about So exactly. So if anyone wants to learn, this is how you're gonna find out.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I mean, you should definitely publish that part of the chat onto your stream yourself. I'll send you the video for that. It's really been a great time hanging out with you this afternoon, Michael. I'm sure that all of the students are very grateful for your time, giving us some little tips on that, inspiring them. Again, hopefully we can have you back, next year, maybe sometime, maybe in person, do some writing out here in Southern Illinois.
When the world's back to normal, sure, I'm down. Yeah.
Now, this is not like Illinois in terms of like flatland, we actually have like a lot of Forest Service roads, great gravel riding. So yeah, get out here.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, thank you for your time. Everybody have a great day. Take care.
See ya.